Oh, I'm on mute. How's it going, guys? Let me switch my, it's kind of messed up. What's up, Yasir Fantasy? Submitting to Steam next. Wouldn't that be something cool? I'm trying to run Docker. Docker compose down. All right, yeah, my Docker desktop was kind of messed up, so I think this should be good now. Make sure my game can run. Okay, why can't I move? I got too many things running. My computer can't keep up. All right, there we go. What was the other thing I was trying to get? There's landmines, there's spikes. The same issue is there for spikes as well. Make sure you update the spikes in every single level of spikes. I'm just fixing a little bug where, like, I have like an auto pickup functionality, but now it's like picking up structures on the ground, which we don't want. So I want to test out. Oh, spawn. Hold a sentry gun. Okay. The same issue is for sentry guns as well. Make sure you do all levels too. I think those are the main things you can walk over. And I'm curious what the issue was with that. Should auto pickup. So there's a function called should auto pickup that determines if the item should auto pickup or not. I think this stuff should be configured. Because we have like sentry guns. Sentry gun. It's a structure. But some things should auto pick up, like the gallon drum. It should automatically interact with that. Yeah, I might make this data driven instead. Can you instead update the item configs and any other config files for these things so that we can configure a boolean to know if they are auto pickup true or false? I mute that. What's up, Ziltiz? Ziltiz? Maybe the auto pickup should be tracked at an object level, like object type, lootable, or structure. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I just saw your comment, but yes. Hey, thank you, Async Stack. What's up, chats? How's it going? Have you considered Go for the game server? I have. I think Node is working well enough. The code base is like 60,000 lines of code now. I think it's a little unnecessarily large because I think some of the stuff I could pull out into being more data driven. There's a lot of like making an entity on the front end and the back end, and then making sure you have to all this additional like glue code to hook it all together. But I think there's a way we could probably like reduce the lines of code. Okay, so let's make sure I'm gonna go and just like spawn bear trap. Make sure it doesn't auto pick up. Spawn sentry gun. Make sure that doesn't auto pick up. But now I can't press E on it. What's going on here? That's weird. Like I can't pick it up when I'm holding it. But that only happens with sentry guns? Okay, there's definitely some bug going on with sentry guns. It's like when I spawn them on top of each other, it like gets confused, I think. Hmm. There must be some other place that we're doing this. If it's a coin, always auto pick up. I don't think these, I think these should also come from configurations too. I think these should also come from configurations. There seems to be an issue with the sentry guns. When I pick one up, I can no longer see the loot text above it when I have one in my inventory. But these should always require a manual pull to interact the loot. Check the logic for sentry guns 1, 2, 3. I really don't like how there's different like registries for all these things. I wish there could be one registry. So like I could just look up any of the registries by the entity type instead of having to like know which one I'm looking at every single time. I'll do a to-do for that one. It's a pain to have to look up an item by entity type inside its corresponding registry instead of just having like a top level registry that can figure it all out for me. Rewrote the entire net code for my game based on Valve docs. 2 weeks of pain because WSL clock sync. That sounds fun. I don't like having the music in the background. Okay, I can add it back in. All right, let's test out the other stuff though, because I have spikes. Yeah, the same issue happens with spikes. I think it's these upgradable structures. There's spikes, sentry guns, and I think I have walls. Yeah, those are issues. Seems like the same issue happens with spikes and walls. Can you double check those after you do the sentry guns? And try to make sure you keep the code clean and abstract. Don't keep repeating the same code everywhere. Yeah, I didn't want to work on this in the stream. I wanted to work on, if you notice, when you log out. Oh, that's kind of annoying. Let me fix that real quick. The drop-down panel on the top left for the like logout menu items, can you make that in front, render on top of everything? But yeah, I wanted to, so like you can actually sign in now. If you go to sign in, you can sign in with Google. I want to make it so like your authentication is persisted. So like when you actually progress in the game, you can be on a leaderboard. That's kind of the next steps I was going to do. But just there's a bunch of bugs in the game now, so I got to fix those. So I want to think through a little bit like how to do this, because the WebSocket server needs to know about your login. And after you log in, I'm guessing in the application there's a cookie, and the cookie probably knows who you're logged in as. Yeah, you have a better auth session token. And so I think when you connect to the WebSocket server for the first time, maybe we could send over the session token. And then the WebSocket server could use better auth to decode it. I think this is probably just like signed with some type of a token to get the user ID in it, maybe. Okay, this one isn't the right format, so we can't really even look at that one. Better auth session. We also have a session. Hopefully this isn't just left over. Let me actually clear all this stuff out. Where's the clear all button? What is this? Why can't I clear that? Interesting. All right, let me sign back in. Yeah, so I just have better auth session token and better auth state. I guess the session token I can just send over, and then the session token I'm guessing is probably used in the database. So if I go and load up database, what's it called? Tables Plus. One of these. It must be this one. It's the first part of this token. I need to go and look at how better auth works. Like, why does this have two parts to it? I'm guessing the second part is maybe the cryptographic like signature on it, and the first part is the actual session token, which is stored in our database. So we can use the session token, send it to the WebSocket server when we first connect, and we can track that so that later we can start storing information on the user ID when they, like, I don't know, kill zombies and stuff. Maybe. Hopefully that's the right way to do it. But I do want to make sure that these little small bugs that we've been kind of prompting is fixed now. Okay, so that's fixed. Game controls is kind of buggy. You got to fix that. On walls. I should be able to walk over the walls. And I can't upgrade them anymore, which is fine. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. I want to look through the code to figure out what was broken with those. That's kind of a pain. Okay, so we have auto pickup set to false on various things like landmines. Coins should be true. Okay, I think this is fine. We'll add this. Environmental configs. The same idea here. I think I might just combine all the configs into one. It just makes it easier because, like, when I want to find something, I then have to go and, like, look up which config it belongs to, and then I have to search, like, tree. So I'll probably just, like, end up doing that in the to-do list too. I'll just probably say, just combine all entities into a single registry and consolidate to a single one. Nice little prompt I could just paste into Claude. Why is the weapon registry? Oh, auto pickup. Okay. By the way, is that music too loud? I can turn it down. Yeah, I don't know what it changed. I mean, like, all the things I just added, those were literally registries, I think. So it must have done something to break the game, and then, like, it probably reverted it. I could probably go back and read. Fixed import order issues. Auto pickup rules changed imports to use the main index entities instead of individual registry files, ensuring registries are properly populated before use. Pickup false to all wall configs. Okay, I can't walk over wall level 1, but I can walk over wall level 2. I feel like Composer could probably do this one real quick. I'm going to tag wall. I know my head's hiding it, but I'm just typing a wall. I want the wall to not block my player's movement. It seems like the first wall, level 1, is working fine, but levels 2 and 3 aren't. Can you make them all passable by humans? Just like it works on the first wall? This commit's getting pretty big. We got 70 file changes, so I need to actually commit this in a second. It's a bit loud. Okay, let me turn it down a little bit. I have some questions. Did you make your sprites on your own? No, I found a free sprite sheet. Like a royalty-free sprite sheet. The game songs, any music or art, it's all, like the music is AI generated. Some of the sound effects are AI generated. And then the other sound effects I found on freesounds.com, and then I went and found Creative Commons 0. So like you don't have to give credits or anything. Have you tried telling AI to make sprites for you using Canvas 2D and exporting it? Canvas 2D, like making them in the HTML5 canvas? I've tried using Gemini to make sprites. The issue is that like they look good, but they generate them at such large scales, and then you scale them down and they end up getting like really pixely. So the Sentry gun is actually an AI generated sprite. But this image was actually huge. I had to scale it down, and then I ended up just spending a bunch of time doing it myself because it just looked pretty bad. Okay. What are we fixing over here? Prediction. Oh, this is gross too. This is some of the stuff you're going to see with agentic coding. Like, it's going to add in hard-coded like if statements like this, and this is not a good approach. Like, stuff like this should be dynamic and configurable. And I think doing something similar, like saying is pass-through, could be a better approach to this. Instead of having like a hard-coded if statement for the prediction, instead, could you add a configuration called is pass-through to like the item configs, the environment configs, or whatever else for these specific entities? Yeah, that's like same thing. It's like hard coding stuff here. It's kind of gross. Find a way to also use that configuration in this place where you're hard coding entity types. I'm actually going to copy this whole thing. Find a way to also apply those changes to this area where you're hard coding entity types. You want to be able to just pull them from the registries in the configuration so that you can just get a list of these things. You can pre-cache this list somewhere if you want to make it more performant so we don't have to look it up every single time. Anyway, I'm going to commit what we have now so that I don't accidentally like blow away all those changes. Wait, what is not being saved? There we go. All right, what did Composer do for us? I think I tried adding constraints. I said make it small and it just didn't do it. I think they have like a min size that the LLM has to like generate with based on like how the internal neural networks are working or whatever. That's why I make it do it in Canvas so you can easily change its scaling without affecting quality. Can you explain what you're saying here? So you use AI to generate the sprites. So like you'll use Gemini, generate a sprite, but then you render it with Canvas and you scale it down in Canvas, and you export it to an image. And so the scaling method, like trilinear, bilinear, whatever it is, like you have it set to a certain type and it doesn't mess up the pixelation. I'm not sure if I fully understand what you're saying here, but using AI for indie, having 12 startups in 12 months, a good idea or bad idea? I mean, I would probably say like 1 startup over 12 months. I don't know. From my opinion, I would say stick to something longer than a month. Like you could probably crank out a bunch of stuff and get it out there, but I think you're going to give up too early on it, and it could be a great idea. You just haven't gotten it to cross that threshold that gets you a bunch of views, and there's like some marketing that you just didn't do yet for that indie idea. Are you saying AI for indie game dev? I don't know. I'm trying to stick to one project for a while, so I want to make sure I finish this whole game. And by finish, I mean nothing's ever finished, right? But I want to have enough where like you have the ability to log in, you have accounts, you can track badges, achievements, not in-app purchases, but like, you know, maybe after you beat a certain wave, you get some money, and then you can have like a loadout screen where you can start your character with certain weapons. That's kind of like the long-term vision of this. And I don't want to just give up on it before I get there. Is this going to be a web app? It is a web app right now. Some lo-fi music. Yeah, I need to find a playlist of like royalty-free. Like I know they have a bunch on YouTube. I just don't know how much I trust it. Because when you start getting copyright strikes on your like YouTube videos, it's problematic. I think chill hop music is one I used to play on my channel. You go on their like website and you sign up, and they have a system that automatically doesn't copyright strike you with their music. Ever consider going back to Laravel? That's funny. Probably not. Are you applying for any grants? I wish the US funded games like how Germany funds games. No. I didn't know that was an option. You can apply for grants for making a game. It might be worth looking into that, you know? What's up, COD the creator? Finally caught a live stream. AI generated sound. Wow. 11 Labs? Yep, I used 11 Labs. Hey, what's up, J35? Welcome. MTX and loot boxes. I can see the vision. Yep. We're making Call of Duty 2D zombies, basically. Alright, what does this thing do? So let's kind of take a peek through here. The item registry got updated, and now we are checking if it's passed through here, and some various other things changed. Like, what's going on here? This is the one thing I don't like about Cursor. All of these like inline undo keep things. It's so annoying. I hope they get rid of it, or at least add a way to like turn it off. Because I don't like going here and clicking keep all every single time. It's one more thing you have to think about. Especially since I did basically have the Git editor open at all times. So I can see the Git diffs. Let's see. Pass through entity types. This is being cached as the player. I don't know if I'd put this here on the player, but we're just going to roll with it for right now. And then that's used down here. Is it? Oh, it already puts player in here. I don't know if I have like an enum of that entities player. Do I have one? Entities record player. Never mind. I'll just stick it as player. There's some type stuff, like type safety stuff, that I've kind of been slacking on at the app. I'm finding it's hard to like make progress trying to come through and like make sure everything is 100% type safe. And so I'm kind of like cutting corners on entity names and stuff like that. I was getting like a bunch of like recursive imports, or like, what's it called when you have like recursive dependencies? Or like this file depends on this and that depends on, it's just kind of a pain. So like some of the stuff I'm just coding kind of sloppy, but it is what it is. This is pass through, true. So we put those on the sentry guns. Why did it not put it on level 2? Put it here. Let's put it here. Wall, pass through, pass through. So is the wall, the bear trap should be passed through too. Well, I don't know if that was even collidable to begin with. I think it's just buildings. Fixable. Bikes. Yeah, at this point, I think I'm adding into too much stuff. Let me go back. All right, let's try this out. Spawn wall. Cool. All right, let me commit that. And then I will kick off a minor release. Actually, I'll do a patch actually. I don't think I add anything else. Do a git diff to see what changed and do the release for a minor. All right, we're 37 minutes in the stream, and I did not do what I wanted to do originally. One thing I'll say with agentic coding is that although you can write code much faster, you still get bottlenecked because you're trying to build like a fun game, and that requires a bunch of testing and experimentation and iteration. And so although we have these tools that make you go much faster, now you spend more time on the other stuff, like polishing up the assets, the music, the controls, debugging. And it just really reminds you that like software engineering is not just about code. It's about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the mix. But it does help with rapidly prototyping. Like that's been really great. I need to change something with how the game works. I literally just prompt it in Claude Code and we have like this huge change with how it's all working. Like the fact that, I don't know if you saw it, when I'm basically trying to spawn something, it added in the autocomplete for me. This is like one prompt. Spawn, type in F for flamethrower. Like, you know, it's like stuff like that. That would have taken me a while to cook up. And now AI can do it in one prompt. And then you can go back to playing the game and really experimenting. My phrasing is effed. I'm saying that I tell AI to use HTML canvas to create sprites. Can you create a top-down laser weapon sprite using HTML canvas and allow me to export it into a sprite sheet? Expect the JSON the size. I guess I'm curious why you use that. Oh, I think I get it. So like it generates a node script for you and you run the node script and basically it was creating like a 16 by 16 bitmap or something of your sprite sheet and it just renders it to an image for you. Let's see, where are we at? What's up? Play Cash Yap? Yeah, chats, do you have like a link to this? I mean, I can try it on a stream real quick. I don't want to get too distracted. I really want to get like auth kind of working. I have 20 minutes left. I'm not doing a long stream tonight. You made it that game entirely with JavaScript and TypeScript? Yes. There's no frameworks. There's no libraries. This is all plain JavaScript and TypeScript. Back end, the front end, the communication layer between them. It's all just rolled my own thing. All right, so we're going to try Claude Code. This is going to be a plan mode because it's going to be a little bit complex. And I'm going to try to help guide it a little bit with some context because we do have the better auth session token here, which is in the cookie. So let's just cook this one up. I want to add in when you connect, let me redo that. When a user loads the app and tries to connect to the WebSocket server, inside of the connection URL, I want you to add a query string with their session token. Right now, the session token is defined in a better auth session token inside a cookie. There's probably a utility that already exists for grabbing that session token or getting the user ID. And when they connect, figure out a way to have the WebSocket server hook into the hold on. What do I want to prompt here? The WebSocket server, I don't want it to know about the database. I guess it could know about the database. Sorry, it's late in the day. I'm kind of tired. I worked all day and now I'm trying to do a little stream. The client has the cookie on it. The client connects directly to the WebSocket server. So the WebSocket server needs to have context of the session and it needs to be able to look it up in the database to verify it. I don't want this WebSocket server to have better auth as context. I feel like that's bleeding auth into the socket server. I didn't even want the WebSocket server to know about Postgres. I was just going to have it can like phone home back to the API and use like an API token. But I guess that's why we have plan mode. And we're gonna plan it out and just see what happens. I want to add in. Okay, let me turn off this scheme noise. It's bothering me. I'll just log out there. When the client connects to the WebSocket server, please send over the session token. The session token can be found in the cookie. Check out the better auth documentation to figure out the session or use the existing better auth libraries inside the WebSocket server so you can get the session token and decode it. Now the WebSocket server may have to connect to the database so it can actually validate the session and then look up the user ID. The reason I'm doing this is because when you first connect, I want you to cache the user ID inside of a map and connect it to the socket ID so that later on when events happen in the game, for example, if a player gets to level 4 or level 5 in the wave system, I can give them some additional experience or points. And I need to know what their user ID was, but I want this to be secure, so never send over a plain user ID when you connect to the WebSocket game server. I don't know. We'll just go with that. Like in my head, I have a vague idea of like what I want to do. But we are just going to load up client, I guess. And we'll just plan this out. I probably should have kicked off an ultra think. It's like, I'm not really happy with this. I don't want my game server to know about better auth. I don't want it to know about my database, but you know what? It's okay to do iterative approaches. Because like I said, when you have an LLM, it's very fast to pivot on your iterations and just try something else. But I guess in the meantime, this will probably take like 5-10 minutes, right? And then we'll have to go and just play around with the game or something. By the way, I'm going to do a little plug. I am working on a course where I'm teaching everything I know about agentic coding. I have a bunch of videos already recorded out there talking about the models, iterative prompting, how to do plan mode, how to monitor your costs, stuff like that. I got some walkthroughs about how to use Claude Code and Cursor. I don't think those are going to be that important to watch through. But then the important part is me. I'm going to be building out a web application using TanStack Start, using ShadCN, using Drizzle for the ORM to connect to Postgres, how to get it all deployed out. And we're going to be using agentic coding to build it all out. So if you're interested in this course when it's done, you can go join my wait list right here. My little plug for anyone interested. Probably gonna be like $100, $200. So I'll probably have sales once in a while though, so don't get too discouraged. I gotta do a little plug, you know. Gotta make some money for Christmas presents. You know what I'm saying? DM me an example on Discord. Okay, thank you. Hey man, what is up? What is this app name for recording audio and transcribing it to Claude? I'm using Super Whisper. It's just, I think it's called Super Whisper. Let me check. You know, it's basically just monitoring what I say when I press a keyword. Super Whisper, here it is. Oh, one thing I refactored, this used to be deployed to a VPS. Recently, I got it all moved over to the Railway. So when you actually go to survive the night, this is the website's running on Railway. The game server is actually running on Railway as well. And I've noticed that the ping is actually much better than it was with my VPS. Okay, it kind of levelized. It was pretty high a second ago. What's up? Quadruple D. Wait, did I just put down my... Anyway, let's go check back on Claude. Oh yeah, I forget. Claude Code asks you a bunch of stuff typically. Yes, proceed. Let me close out of some of the stuff. I want to call this a feature. This is more like a refactoring, but whatever. I'm surprised I didn't even mention TanStack start here. Like I literally refactored the whole front end to be TanStack start. Before I was using like React Router 7 or something and like Vite, which is great for like the beginnings, but I need more power. I need more flexibility, you know? Oh ho, thank you for the super chat, my man. Carter Sriracha, 8,300. Thank you for the $10. Opus 4.5 changed the game. Do you agree? Thanks for your videos, Cody. Super inspiring. I mean, it's good. It's definitely good. I think the game has already been changed for a while. I don't think people have... I think people play around with agentic coding and LLMs for a little bit, and they're like, oh, I have to babysit it too much or whatever. But I mean, I've been kind of blown away, even with like Composer or Opus 4.1 and the older versions of Sonnet and these other models. Like, remember when Composer first came out with, when Cursor first came out with Composer mode and they had auto mode? Even I was like, this is game changing. The results kind of sucked half the time. You had to keep on reprompting it. But I was literally just like sitting there adding in features and watching TV, which was game changing. Gemini 3 came out, and that's also pretty good. So I think the game has been changed for a while now, and now the models are just slowly getting better to the point where it's like manually coding is starting to become like a relic, at least from what I've seen. You still have to review the code. Don't get me wrong about that. Like the less you review the code, the more sloppy the code ends up getting, and then the harder it is for the LLM to like fix bugs and make changes. But yeah, it's definitely pretty game changing, I think. All of it is. I don't know if I even like, it's like I agree, but I like kind of don't agree, you know? It's like the game has been changed for a while now. But there's so many people there's so many people out there who are so resistant to this idea. And I don't know why. It's like, bro, never in my life could I think that you could prompt something and it just generates all this code for you. Yeah, you have to keep like babysitting prompt. Okay, so DB access. Should the game server access the database for session validation? Game server calls an HTTP endpoint on the website to validate. I would rather it call API endpoints, to be honest. I don't want it accessing my database. What should happen if the user connects without a valid session token? Yeah, allow anonymous play. That's fine. How should the game server... Oh, yeah, submit it. Whatever. I love it when you forget a Claude running instance for a bit. Wow, I can't read. I love it when you forget a Claude running for a bit, then you remember, go check it, and it's still just sitting on permissions to read something or whatever. Yeah, for real. Or like in plan mode, when it's asking you more follow-up questions, you're like, bro, just implement it. Like, I'll just reprompt you if you mess it up. Don't worry. Can't you just call the better auth API instead? I can. Yeah, I could. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. There's just something about having better auth in my game server. It feels gross. Okay. Separations of concern, decouple your code, having an auth library baked into my game server. Maybe one day I decide to rewrite my game server in Go or Rust, you know? It's like I don't want that better auth thing to then force me to spend a bunch more time refactoring. But in reality, I mean, it'd be like a couple of function calls. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. I love it when you forget a Claude. Oh yeah, you should install a hook in Claude Code to notify you when it needs permissions with subtle sound effects. Helps me a lot. Yeah, I used to kind of do the hooks. I used to play a sound, like it used to read to me when it was done, but I haven't been doing that for some reason. I feel like coding is one of the only verticals in LLMs that feels like it's still getting better. I mean, the image generation, I guess that's a separate type. Like, that's not considered an LLM, right? But the image generation, the video generation. Using it for writing, too. I mean, it's getting a little bit better for writing. It's not as easy to know you're talking to an LLM if someone were to prompt it really well. Have you ever tried Conductor? It allows multiple Claude Code sessions in their own Git work trees. It's pretty great. I haven't tried it. I have looked at the website and I thought about downloading it. I just never gotten around to it. I think that the Git work trees for side projects adds complexity. I'm okay with just having like a giant commit of like 70 files with like features mixed and matched into them. It seems to work well, and it kind of helps me keep into the workflow. I could see at work having different Git work trees could be beneficial because you're not going to have a pull request on like 3 different user stories, right? You need to have those be isolated so you can get them kind of reviewed and merged in separately. But I have been doing the work tree stuff with Cursor. Cursor has a work tree option, and I have been using that a lot. Okay, that's a lie. I have not been using it a lot. I have used it some, and I do use it in the course a couple times where like I was kind of focusing on one really complex feature, and in the meantime I was kicking off a couple of work tree builds so that when I finished what I was kind of focusing on, I could then pull in the work tree and then focus on that and then pull in the next one. So it's kind of like building up a queue of like partially finished work. And then once you get your current work done, you pull in the 80% work and you get it past the finish line. That's been kind of a cool approach to it as well. But it's just hard to test because like when you, all the work trees share the same database. And so like you'll start getting like merge conflicts, or you'll get like migration scripts that kind of like collide with each other. And then you have to go and manage like reverting those in your database because one get work tree tried to access the same database. And you could probably find a way to like split that up into separate databases. Like every get work tree could have its own isolated tables or its own isolated databases. But now it's like, it just feels extra complex in my personal opinion. Yeah, image and video is great, but like writing doesn't feel like it's getting much better to me. Yeah, it's just very verbose sometimes. It just like adds in a bunch of fluff words and whatnot. Jira issues per feature and make it a branch has proven to be the best way for me to use Claude Code. I'm not using a game engine. This is all custom made. Compare your happiness and dopamine a couple of years. Coding a couple years ago vs vibe versus vibe coding. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy now. I mean, like, I think at one point it was hard for me to accept that this is like the future of coding. And there's still people who don't accept it and they don't agree that this is the future of coding. But the amount of code I've written in this game alone and like other side projects, like I literally have 3 cursor things open because often I will kick off a task in one project, and then while that's running, I'll go to another project and kick off some tasks, and then I'll go and kick off a third task in another project. And then people ask, how do I like get so many things done? It's because I literally am using Claude Code to implement various things at the same time on various projects. Security notes, session tokens. Let's see what it's doing here. Session tokens sent via WebSocket in production. User ID is never exposed over the WebSocket. Validation results cache briefly to reduce API load. Anonymous place support. Graceful. Yeah, whatever. Just make the code changes. It's easier for me to review the code changes than it is for me to like read over all this stuff, honestly. I'm already losing my voice. I'm kind of tired. Productivity has skyrocketed for me as well. Yeah. Would you say that your love for writing code has changed since the introduction of LLMs? Yeah, I mean, I don't write code anymore, I'll be honest. Like I do go through like once in a while and I'll like manually change some stuff. But I think there's a lot larger emphasis on reading code and being able to comprehend the code that the LLM is generating. And sometimes writing the code can help you get to that level. Like I've been doing this for 13 years now. So for me, writing code was always like this tedious part of the process. It's like, okay, I can envision how the modules and the classes and the components all need to communicate, but now I actually have to sit down for 2 hours and write it all out. And that was like the tedious process that I didn't like doing. Well, I did like doing it. It was fun to kind of be fast at it, right? But now when I can prompt an LLM to generate an entire dashboard layout in like 30 seconds, why would you go and manually write that? That just doesn't make sense to me. You go and you review the code and you identify the most high risk places. Like if you ask it to add in a backend endpoint that has database calls and it does like a SQL query and like maybe you have some front end stuff. Like there's certain places in the code base that you'll quickly want to go review. Like is the API, does it have authentication? Does it have authorization? Are you properly checking the request to make sure that it's a private versus a public request? The database call. Is the SQL query seem like it's performant? Does it seem like it's secure, not going to bring down your whole database? Like, these are the things that you just quickly glance through when you're doing the code reviews now. And then you just reprompt the LLM to fix it when you notice that it did something pretty bad. And that's kind of my process now. Granted, on a very, very large project though, like I just made a PR at work. It has 256 file changes, basically removing a bunch of old code that we didn't have anymore. And I think I kind of went through the code by hand and did a lot of the deletions. But you'll start identifying places where it's like, okay, I can actually just kick off a composer one prompt and it could probably just turn through 40 files real quick and just like do the quick refactorings. And so you get used to like identifying when the LLM is going to be faster than you doing it. But yeah, I'm having fun. I mean, I'm having fun just doing this stuff. Like the amount of stuff I'm able to ship in this game. Like, what is this stuff? This looks kind of like flop code. I don't even know why it's even changing this, honestly. This could just be Cursor like complaining about a bunch of stuff that it thinks has changed. All right, so let's kind of go through here. It looks like it's almost done. If not, it might be done. The client socket manager. So this is like on the front end, the client, which sends the request over to the back end. And so now what we do is we get the session token and we set it inside the parameters that we send to the server. What is this? Server URL params. Client adapter connect. Options. Oh, it's pushing all the params to here, and then it pushes the session token, and then it sends that to my WebSocket. And this, I mean, this seems fine. Why do we have a cookie function? Let's go to the server. The server should be processing that request somewhere. Server socket manager. So the request should come in. Session, a validator. We get the session token from the query. Validate and cache session. Session token, that comes from where? Oh, yeah. If it's an array, okay. Validate and cache. What is this doing? Session validate the session, user session cache, and then it caches it to map the user ID to the socket. How is this working? Check the cache first. Response. Oh, okay. So now there's an API endpoint on my website that we can pass the token to it, and then we'll get back a response with probably the user ID. What does this one have in it? Yeah, it has a user ID. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm actually going to prompt this one more time. Can you add an API endpoint so that we can track when a player gets a kill? Every time they kill a zombie, I want you to track that and make the game server send that request off when the player actually kills the zombie. Make sure you decouple the zombie logic for like tracking the kill from the actual HTTP event. Like, I don't want the entities to know about the HTTP event. I want you to broadcast an event called like zombie killed, use a message bus, have that be somewhere else in the WebSocket server and be listening for that event. And so when that event comes in, you can then just forward that request to the API endpoint, pass in the session token, pass in the you probably will also have to pass in an API key. Yeah, okay, hold on a second. To make this secure, I think you're going to have to generate an API key that only the WebSocket game servers know about and the API, the REST API know about. So you can safely assume that the person hitting this API endpoint is the actual game server. You don't have to have the game server send over the session anymore. You can just send over the user ID, but you'll also need to, in the header, add in the API token so that we know that the kill request was actually coming from the right game server and not some malicious user. I might even want to plan mode this again. Whatever. Let's kick it off. And I probably should have gone and like edited my prompt, but I'm just too tired. I'm tired now. Yeah, I think this all looks pretty good. I mean, like, let's just add some stuff in. Route tree. What is this doing? This is validating the session. This is the API endpoint in TanStack start that allows you to validate the session. This is probably calling auth API get session. And then we return back the user ID. Okay, this looks good. User session cache. That's just a caching system. I don't really need to review that too much. Session validator. This is the one that calls my website API URL. This probably needs to be, yeah, this will have to be set in an environment variable somewhere. But yeah, that's probably good. Game loop. What is this doing? This looks like linting. Context. Okay. When they disconnect, we remove them from the session cache in the validator. Clear cache. Why are there two things? Session validator, clear cache. We'll probably have to go look into this a little bit more. I wouldn't think we need two different cache systems. But whatever. This is the one we just looked at. Get the cookie. Get the session token. This feels like I should have just used a better auth library that should have already existed. Is this used? Yeah, I'd probably be concerned about that. Like, I'll just put a to-do here. Do we really need this? Shouldn't better auth already have a library function that does this for us in TanStack start? Create a new table so we can track all of the stats for a user. For example, how many kills they have total, what's the max wave they've gotten to, how much money they have, our gyms, etc. It looks like it's already modifying a schema, actually. Hold on. User stats. Look at that. It's already doing it. Smart stuff. Zombie kills, and it's just tracking that. So we can start with that for now. Okay, yeah, we'll test this out and I'm gonna end the stream. I'm tired. Easily a 10x. The only thing I write 100% manually is the DB schemas because I'm very peculiar about how I want it done. But other than that, I prompt and I review. Seems fair. Do you ever feel like you're losing that coding skills though? I mean, why do you need it though? I guess that's my question. Why do you need to know how to write code when you have these LLMs that do all the writing for us? And like, trust me, AI is not going away. This stuff is not going away. LLMs are not going away. This is here to stay. And I'm assuming it's just going to get cheaper as time goes on and as technology gets better and the models get better. So like the writing the code thing, that was just something that we just got attached to as developers. And we just have to realize that it was never that important to write the code. Reviewing the code is probably more important. Yeah. It is kind of a sad thing to kind of like accept. He's like, okay, I used to really take pride in like being able to quickly navigate my code base and write code and copy and paste stuff and refactor stuff. But now it's like, what's the point of doing that when Opus 4.5 can change 50 files, turn out more code than you ever could? But it's funny, like the people who've been coding with LLMs are like, wow, this is crazy. you're going to go apply for a job and they're going to make you code by hand still. Like they're going to make you do a leak code problem. And then you're going to fail that and be like, oh, well, you can't get the job because you don't know how to write a leak code problem. Like, what? I literally made new personal site in 2 hours prompting while watching your stream for an hour. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like the amount of stuff you can churn out, and you don't have to pay attention to it. Like you can just go on full on vibe code if you want to, because you're just like, your brain is fried. And then the next day you come back and you just review all the code. I use the $100 Claude Code Max plan. And then I use on demand for cursor. I use like the $20 a month and then the on demand if I need extra tokens. It's not secure to send the token as a query param. Tell Claude to send it as a message. How is this not secure? It's over. Oh, because like the original connection to the WebSocket server, is that not over like a secure socket layer? Let me trust you. Random person on the internet, I trust you. I mean, if it's over WSS, like I thought the query string would be, let me ask. If my website is hosted on HTTPS and it's trying to connect to a WebSocket server that's on WSS, is it safe to put sensitive data in the query string? Will that be encoded? Or should I make sure that it's only sent inside of the WebSocket message payload? I would assume that the query string data would be safe, right? That's how it works with HTTPS. Encryption in transit, yes. WebSocket server encrypts the entire connection, including the initial HTTP upgrade request and query string. The data is encrypted during transmission. However, query strings can still be exposed with server logs. Yeah, we know that. Browser history. Okay, so I guess there are some attack vectors here that it would make it safer to not put it in the query string. I don't think you can attach the headers to the WebSocket handshake, can you? Maybe you can. I haven't tried that. I know at work we're doing like the AWS WebSocket servers and like you couldn't add it to the header for some reason. Send the token in the first message after the connection. I guess another approach is you could just encode the no, that wouldn't be safe either. Yeah, I think send it as the first message after connection might be the approach I'll go with, honestly. Are you sure you can connect with a header with a WebSocket server connection? I swear in the past I tried doing this and like you couldn't do it. But that could have been the particular implementation I was using for an AWS WebSocket server. You're correct. The native WebSocket API in browser does not allow for setting a custom header. Okay. So again, you have to always question the LLM. It does hallucinate all the time still. Like that's not going away. So you do have to make sure you know the right answer and you have to memorize that stuff. So like software engineering is not going away, right? There's value in knowing what you're doing. Okay, I'm tired. I'm going to end the stream. I think this is good. I mean, we could just test it out real quick. I just want to basically load up my browser. And I'm going to just try to kill a zombie and see if this works. I hope it one-shotted it because that would be a really cool way to end the stream. Okay, so if that worked, I should be able to go to Tables Plus. And it didn't even add the table. So it didn't work. But also I didn't restart my, hold on, let me restart my connection. Let's go to network. Let's go to socket. It's sending over the token here. I don't think that's the right token though. Interesting. But I mean, this will be like 1 or 2 more prompts to fix. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thanks to you guys for joining. Do you have to do the migration? Yeah, I think I have to run the migration script, but I would expect the backend API. I don't know. I need to kill it. I told my wife I'd only stream for an hour, so I need to leave to see what is the stack user for game. This is just a web-based game using JavaScript and TypeScript and Canvas. That's it. And WebSockets. Does it run a real-time database? No, it's just using Postgres for storing like achievements and stats. Are you protecting your backend using JBT with Socket? I did a similar thing on my project. I don't think I'm using that yet, as well as using better auth integrated to it. Send the token as a first JSON message after WC. Okay, yeah. Have I tried Codex Extra High? I have. Codex is good too. I use it a lot for harder to solve bugs. Let me close out of this. Codex is good. It's just kind of slow, right? So I rather use Opus 4.5 or Composer 1, and then I kind of fall back on Codex Extra High fast if I just want to like have it churn through and try to fix a bug. But yeah, I should try it with reviews too.